Ever since you met that stranger at the harbor, you've been feeling a strong sense of unease. You can't help but wonder how many of his kind are hiding in the shadows, stalking you, and waiting for that perfect time to strike. You sit in your house, wallowing in your anxiety. That is, until you hear a firm knock at your door. Cautiously, you approach the door and open it with a creak, only to be met with the face of the same man from the night before. His expression is kind, and he seems to be holding one of your belongings. You invite him in and talk to him once again over a cup of tea. And as he speaks, you cannot help but realize how friendly he truly is. Maybe you could become more than strangers, maybe even friends. Good evening, my dear. Do you remember me? Yes, you're a stranger from the harbor. Sorry to intrude like this, but, well, I believe this is yours. This handkerchief is yours, yes? After we went our separate ways, I witnessed it escape your pocket and float down into the harbor waters. You see, I would have handed it back to you right then and there, but it was soaked through. I didn't think you would appreciate a ruined handkerchief, so I decided to keep hold of it and dry it for you. Here, you can take it. Don't fret. I have done nothing to it. I swear upon my own grave. Ah, yes, it was torn slightly, so I thought I'd sew it back together for you. I do apologize. I was not able to find any threads that matched the design, so I'm afraid there is a large brown stitch across it now. I hope it doesn't ruin the design too much for you. I suppose you're right. Imperfection is perfection, after all. The stitch adds personality, is what you're saying, yes? That is a very charming way of thought. Oh, are you sure? I wouldn't want to impose on your evening. After all, I only came to return what's yours. You really don't have to be so hospitable for a man you barely know. Well, my dear, if you insist. Thank you for inviting me in. Your kindness will not go unrewarded, I promise. Allow me to repay you another time. Now, where would you like me to sit? By the table? Understood. A drink? Oh, I'm sorry, my dear, but I couldn't possibly do that to you. Oh, right. My apologies. Some tea would be wonderful, thank you. Thank you. Oh, it feels so warm in my hands. It's delightful. Forgive me if this sounds absurd, but I cannot remember the last time I had a drink like this. There's never any point in preparing teas and coffees with my condition, of course. But it is comforting to know that the taste remains the same. On the contrary, my dear, this flavor is a lot better than that of blood. But, unfortunately, I need blood to sustain myself. It is a curse, really, but at least I can still enjoy the food and drink of my mortal days. To an extent, at least. My dear, you look concerned. What is ailing you at this hour? It's okay. You don't have to be so reserved around me. Let us talk, like we once did at the harbor. I have been vulnerable with you, so now I suppose it's your turn. You have my unwavering attention and support. Remember what I said at the harbor. I have no use for your stories, nor do I possess any ill motives. Your words are safe with me, I promise. Now, breathe in and out. Tell me, what is it that's on your mind? Ah, I see. I suppose my discussion about the vampiric left you shaken. Well, I shouldn't say vampiric. Like I said the other night, these creatures, they aren't... I mean, we aren't vampires. Never were, and never will be. They're in a league of their own, or so to say. I really don't know how to explain what we are. We share some qualities with the vampires, yes, but it's complicated. You see, our species are called sanguis creaturae, or blood creatures in English. We're seen as a lower species to the vampires, all because they have that bourgeoisie blood coursing through them. It's very unfair if you ask me. But along with their blood status, they also possess greater abilities, such as hypnosis, which sets them apart from us even more. It is all just a game of privilege, I'm afraid. Tell me, what is it about the sanguis creaturae that makes you so nervous? You seemed quite brave the last time I talked about them. Oh. I am sorry to say, my dear, but your fears are very much valid. There is indeed a good chance that they are stalking you. After all, you're one of the only mortals to walk around the town alone at night. I imagine they've taken quite a liking to you. As have I, of course. Although, you should not worry yourself too much. Since I have talked to you, they most likely think that I have placed a claim on you. You see, they only hunt what they know they can capture. And since I've interacted with you, they'll think you unattainable. I guess we should consider our meeting a lucky one. To think, if neither of us went down to the harbor that evening, you might have been... well, you might have been killed. And not just that, you might have even been made into one of us.
But let's not linger on that thought any longer. You're safe. You needn't worry about any surprise attacks or kidnappings. I will do what I can to keep you safe. I promise. Is there anything else you would like to discuss? Any more questions or worries you'd like to get off of your chest? Dear, oh my dear, yes, I've killed people in the past. You have to understand, though, I never wanted to. When you are what I am, your hunger becomes your sole drive. I've never been proud of my actions. There's nothing to be proud of, but it is something that I am trying to control. I don't drink human blood anymore. Those days are far behind me. For now, I make do with animal blood. Sure, it's not as sustaining as human blood, but it is enough to get me through each night. I suppose you can tell from my ill appearance, admittedly, I'm not as healthy as I once was. But it is okay. There are far worse situations to be in. I'll survive. I do feel tempted at times, yes. Especially when there's blood just within my reach. When I can see a cut or a gash or even a grazed knee, I begin to feel that all too familiar adrenaline pumping through my veins. But I have learned to control it. I will either wait it out patiently or search for some stray animal. Never pets, though. Oh, I would never forgive myself if I drained some person's beloved pet. No, I've never drained anything as big as a cow or a horse. I usually go for rodents, like rats and mice. Draining about 3 to 4 of those animals is enough to get me through at least, 24 hours? Although, I must admit that I'm not as strong as I used to be. Yes, a couple of rodents give me the strength to walk and talk as much as I'd like, but it wouldn't exactly be enough to win in a fistfight. And I do know this from experience. You see, when I chose to drink animal blood instead of human blood, the others were not pleased in the slightest. They just could not understand my sudden change of heart. And not a single one attempted to ever do so. Instead, they demonstrated their irritation by cornering me in an alley and beating me to a pulp. I didn't have the strength to defend myself, and so I endured it. At least for as long as I could before passing out on the cobblestones below. They don't talk to me anymore. No one does. I suppose you might consider me a lone wolf of sorts. No offense to the werewolves, of course. My dear, I am very much grateful for your concern. But you have nothing to be sorry about. On the contrary, you have been my lighthouse in this eternal darkness that I traverse through. At that harbor, you knew exactly what I was, and yet you never once struck me down. And now, you offer me a place to rest, along with a hot drink. You know what kind of monster I am, and yet you still lend me an ear. For that I owe, well, everything. You never have to apologize to me. Never. Do you understand? Good. I'm glad. Your home is lovely, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't say anything about it earlier. Did you buy it yourself, or maybe was it inherited? Ah, that's nice to hear. Well, it's very cozy, nonetheless. I'm quite the fan of it, if I do say so. What do you do for work? That is, if you don't mind me asking, of course. You work on your own fishing boat. That's wonderful to hear. Tell me, what's the fishing industry like these days? I hear that demand has, well, fallen quite significantly since my time. Oh, that's unfortunate to hear, my dear. I am sure you'll find your footing again. Remember, you can always ask me for advice if you seek it. After all, I did used to be quite the fisherman. Oh, of course. I would love to see your vessel someday. Maybe you could give me a tour. Let me relive my happier days, so to speak. At least for a moment or so. Thank you. It would mean the absolute world to me. I'm sorry, you wouldn't by chance have the time, would you? I want to make sure that I leave before sunrise. Also, I would hate to keep you from your bed any longer. You can deny it all you please, but you have been yawning all evening. Now, what time is it? In that case, I should be leaving. The sun will start to rise in just a couple of hours. Thank you once again for your hospitality. I quite enjoyed the time we spent together. Yes, I am sure I have everything. You can always come and return something if I don't. After all, you do know where to find me. Again, I am terribly sorry about what happened to your handkerchief. I can always go to the market and buy you another. You see, I know this man. He can... Oh, are you certain it's okay? Well, all right then. I shall see you on another night. Also, don't forget to show me your boat. I would absolutely love to have that tour. I hold you to that promise. Farewell, my dear. I am sure we will see each other again soon.